Good afternoon to everybody. This is the webinar that has been announced a few weeks ago. My name is Marcello Albanese, and I'm sales manager for Navionics for Europe and Middle East and Africa and Asia Pacific. And also I'm responsible for the agreement with the marine electronics manufacturers that are using Navionics charts. The title of this webinar is Communities Make Boating Safer and More Fun. This webinar is prepared in coincidence with the upcoming Düsseldorf Boat Show that will run from next Saturday for more than a week. For this reason, I also invite you, whoever you can, to visit our stand at the Düsseldorf Boat Show. The number of the stand is A03 in Hall 11. Some little rules to participate to this webinar. Anyone can submit questions. You can type your questions pushing the button question and answer, which is on your desktop on the bottom. All the questions are being recorded, so even if those questions will not be answered during the webinar itself, then they will be answered separately after the webinar. After the presentation of the webinar, we will try to answer as much questions as possible from you. And now is the time that I hand over the presentation to the president of Navionics, Giuseppe Carnevali, who is joining our webinar today with his presentation. Thank you, Giuseppe. It's up to you now.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to this webinar. I'm very, very proud to say that we have people from about 15 countries, ranging from North America to pretty much all countries in Europe, South Wales, Scotland, Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Croatia, Ontario, etc., etc. And that we had almost 700 people registered, which means that probably even more than that number will actually be watching it from the tape. So very, very interesting that what technology can do. I know that some just said hello from some mountain place where they may be skiing, but thinking about their next boating vacation. So let me share the screen and show you the presentation, the power of the community. I would like to start from what people say about us rather than, or about the communities rather than what we say about ourselves. And here we have a very respected and legendary yachtsman, Sir J. Blythe, who said, difficult to know how one would navigate without Navionics. They make it so easy, so great detail, I would never go to sea without them. And this is a sample of actually many that we have received from people all over the world saying, thank you, you saved my life. I must say that actually Marcello was with me one night. We were at the closing of the Mets show, and somebody came up to the boat show and never heard, never seen, came up and said, are you from Navionics? Yes, I'd like to shake your hand. So he shook my hand, everybody's hand, Marcello. And we were sort of staring at him, you know, we were a little surprised, what for? And he said, you guys saved my life. And he became emotional, almost broke to tears, and then left. That was one of the most rewarding moments of our career at Navionics, and makes all the hard work we've done really worthwhile. So what makes all of this possible? And we must say today, certainly the community is an extremely important component of it, of course, the community and the aggregator of the community. Just to make a little bit of comparisons between, let's say, the classic approach towards electronic charts and navigation and the more modern with the community. In the classic manner, we would have hundreds of surveyors. Now we have millions of surveyors. With the classic methodologies, takes years to get updates to cartography. Now it is minutes. With the classic methodology, it was a sort of one-way monologue of the chart maker that was sending things out. But now it's a dialogue, it's a two-way communication. So what makes a community? Of course, first of all, many members, many peers, many people that share the same interests and that know the same stuff. It takes an independent aggregator like Navionics. So somebody who does not particularly belong to any party, let's say, and that has the technology, a lot of technology, and let me say a lot of passion, because without passion, nothing really happens. We definitely are people with a lot of passion. We are boaters. You see here Marcello, Giovanni, Sean, many of you met them. This is Marcello's sailboat. This is Don, our VP of Sales and Marketing. This is myself skiing, actually in boating again. This is Walter, who has been with the company since the beginning, who is also a pilot. And so we share all these values. We are our first customers, and that's why we really put our passion in it. And we are, because we're independent, in a unique situation where we not only have the greatest boater community, but really coming from all over the world. Right now, globally, about 3 out of 4 plotters in the field are supporting Navionics. We're actually doing also very well with the apps. These pictures were taken just these days. We're #1 in the navigation store of most countries. This was taken from the US store, which of course is not only the largest, but also the most competitive. And so we are #1 apps of all, whether it's land-based navigation, flight, or whatever. And so much so that we are the icon of the navigation store. So the navigation store on Apple, and this is even now, this is in mid-January at the lowest negative peak of the season. We are the icon, the #1 app and the icon of the navigation store. Not only that, we actually are, with including all apps, about 1.5 million, now actually growing, getting close to 2 million apps. We are always in the top 100. Just a couple of days ago, we were number 45. I had a Zombieville and apps of that kind, which of course are very high volume. This is in volume. So this says a lot about the popularity of the apps and the participation to the community. This is the iTunes store for iPad, where you see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 apps in the top 8. So our numbers, we have currently in use about 1.5 million plotters. We have done about 6 million downloads of apps. And last year we had over 100 million sessions, which means a very active community. You probably know that the statistics indicate that more or less 10% of apps that get downloaded are never opened, not even once. About 80 to 90% of apps get downloaded are used less than 10 times or less. And only a small, roughly 5%, are used 11 times or more. If you look at the number of the users and the number of sessions, you see that ours is used very, very frequently. So not only are we in the rankings in the top 0.001%, but also in one of the most frequently used sessions, which means we have this continuous dialogue with the customer. Not only do we send charts and updates, etc., but also the community members provide crowdsourcing and feedback. In fact, we have now already more than 500,000 community edits and billions of spot soundings and tracks that have been supplied by our customers, our community members. So much so that we now say the power of community, what does it really mean? It's summarized in the sentence, want better charts, go boating. If you go boating and use an app like Navionics, you are contributing to the improvement of the charts and the services and everything that goes with them. And this gives you an idea of how many tracks and how many people and where they're using our app, from Cape Horn to the most remote islands in the Southern Atlantic and the Pacific, but all the way to the Northwest Passage, Greenland, Cape North, you name it. The most remote islands all over the world, we have active people. Needless to say, the most active are in the most populated areas, in the west coast of the US to Florida, down to the Caribbean, along the coast, etc. But look at the lakes and the remote lakes where we have dots indicating usage of our apps, tracks that people have contributed to improve the cartography. So what makes the Navionics community unique? Well, first of all, we are an independent chart producer. We are answerable only to the voting community. We are not controlled by a government, by politics, by constraints of any kind. We are free and able to do what the community wants. And we are also the only independent aggregators of content, which means that we can get data from any brand of and any kind of device, as opposed to others who can only get some data from their own brand devices. So the results are that, of course, first of all, better charts with services like freshest data, instant distribution. If it is a community edit, it is shared within a few minutes all over the world. If it is, our entire portfolio is republished every day with thousands of updates every day. We're able to produce the Sonar Chart and the Sonar Chart Live, which are a combined effort of many sources, including, of course, the hydrographic offices and all sorts of private and public surveyors, et cetera, but very importantly, the members of the community themselves, who can see the Sonar Chart Live, and then the result of merging the data. The Sonar Chart Live is wonderful, but it is only the result of the input of the data that one user is collecting. Whereas the Sonar Chart is the integration of all data from all users, plus more from our own surveys, like I said, and other things. And this also helps in creating other features and optimizing them, like dock-to-dock auto-routing and the timeline that I will speak to you about in a moment. What does this do for me, the boater? Essentially comes down to more fun and more safety. And let me give you some examples of, first of all, how the technology and the community are changing things, and what is the impact in our way of boating. First of all, the 1,000 factor. From the time when we started, and you all remember that the world's first electronic chart device was made by Navionics, the volumes have grown by 1,000, factor of 1,000. So when we started, we used to talk in terms of thousands. Anything that was made in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 was wonderful. Now we talk about 1,000 times more, which means we talk about millions. Now we talk about 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 millions of downloads, for example, of our app. Time reduced by a factor of 1,000. An update used to require a year. Now it's done in 1 minute or less. Prices, regretfully, reduced by 1,000. What used to cost 10,000 now costs 10. I remember, actually, it's even more than that. Our first devices were in the range of $12,000. Now, with $10, you can get our app. So what is there for the future? Can we say mission accomplished? Do we really have now automatic routing, dock-to-dock, and all these things, you know, very detailed charts, all the updates and all those things? Well, needless to say, the answer is no, aside from the fact that technology continues to make things possible that were not possible yesterday or even today. But bear in mind that only 10% of the seas are charted like the Moon and Mars. And according to official estimates by the Norwegian hydrographic offices in Norway alone, there are 30,000 uncharted rocks. Now, Norway is the only hydrographic office that had the courage of sticking out the head and saying, we have this problem. But it is not limited to Norway. In fact, Norway has some of the best charts in the world. So there's a lot to do, and with the power of the community, where instead of hundreds of surveyors, we have millions of surveyors, we can do incredible things. So can any individual do the job? The obvious answer is no. The cost would be too much, the time would be too much. It is nothing comparable to the fact that there are now 2 billion smartphones in the world. So communities, crowdsourcing, all sorts of things are possible that were not possible before. And by the way, this also makes navigation available, accessible to everybody and not just an elite of people. And when I say navigation, I mean not only the boat, but actual electronics, GPS, and so forth. So we need to leverage the power of community to improve the content, which means not only the chart itself, but also the information that is available on the chart, such as, for example, anything ranging from VHF channels of marinas, phone numbers, fuel stations, and so forth. And of course, the usability to make it easy to use, get the feedback from the customer, the dialogue that we have now. If you think of just this webinar, I mean, we used to make press conferences with 12, 15, 20 people. we have about 700 people registered for this. And it's a two-way dialogue. I continue to see the little window here showing messages and text sent from you, the audience. So it is now possible to have a continuous dialogue, which means that we can improve our products. Of course, we need to make our products available, sorry, and usable in small screens. That may seem easy, but it's not. I mean, the nautical charts as we know them, as I have known them when I was younger, were made for a display of 1 square meter. Now we're down to a display of 4 inches, and making the information available in such a manner that it is easy to read, is complete, but is not cluttered, is not at all easy. So I see I have a problem with the internet. Let me show some examples of how this two-way interaction can help. We have seen the need to do the so-called exaggeration. As you see here, this is a channel between Sicily and Tunisia. There are a number of shoals, some of them are very shallow, in the middle of the open sea. And they're very small, so small that one wouldn't be able to find them if you were to zoom in, particularly in a very small display. But two, you probably would not notice them. Many of you have heard about the accident that happened during the Volvo ocean race. I will not say much about the charts that were being used, but the fact is that with the exaggeration that we actually have done a lot more of since hearing about and actually speaking. I had the privilege of speaking with the skipper that made the mistake and was brave enough to recognize it and say, well, I am sharing my experience to help my fellow peer boaters to avoid doing the same mistakes. We have introduced exaggeration. So this is this same area enlarged where you see that there is a shallow area within a deep sea. But this is even more interesting. And probably many of you, particularly from Northern Europe, Germany and so forth, have seen that in Greece, near Paxos and Antipaxos, there is a rock, and again, deep water. There's one single rock that stands up in the middle, and so we exaggerated it. So this is at a high zoom level. This is zooming in. If you zoom into a lot of detail, you will see that not only the rock is reported, but also several community edits. In fact, unfortunately, there's a wreck. Obviously, somebody has hit the rock before they had the means to see it. And if we click on those and go see what is the contribution, you see that somebody reports a rock at a depth of only 1 meter in English and Italian. This was done on the 30th of January of 1915 at 5:22 in the afternoon. And the wreck was reported by this person, so this, let's say, member of our community, nicknamed Soxil, in August 2016. Again, this is the power of the community and the possibility of improving charts with these inputs and with a two-way dialogue that allows us to improve the cartography so much. One quick last comment is the timeline. This is a new feature that we're showing now. You can now, as you use the tracking, take pictures, and while your pictures will be shown, the location of your picture will be shown along the track. As you scroll the playback, you will see your pictures, but you will also see the pictures that come from our database of every point of interest that you go near. So if you go near a marina, in your timeline, you will automatically see that marina. And you will see your pictures, the time when they were taken, the location, again, with the camera icon, and so forth. Very interesting feature that is now available in all our apps, boating, skiing, and so forth. And by the way, all these beautiful things that you're seeing for boating are also available for skiing, since I know that many of you are skiing at this time or about to go skiing. So, mission accomplished. Of course, not a lot of work to do. Only a community can give us a better content, help us improve the features, make them more user-friendly, make sure that whenever somebody has a problem, we are told about it and we improve of it. And the availability of new and more services. And I say here, see you next year, but it's really see you in a few months. You will see some interesting new things coming from Navionics. So this is it. I tried to keep it short so we have time for questions. I see that there's already something like 30 questions or more. And I just say enjoy your time, have fun boating, and thank you for participating to this webinar. So Marcello, you take over with, meanwhile I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. There is a kind of a glitch in the system, so the question and answer to me did not function very well, so I did not receive the question from somebody, but I received and I asked the question to be communicated through the chat, which seems to be working on the system now. So I collected 6 questions right now.
I see 38 questions on the chat and 19 on the question and answer.
Yeah. So let's start with the one that actually arrived by email before we started the webinar. One person requested that he feels that we have a lack of information about the scale of charts that as the data source are providing, because in certain complex areas, it can be useful to have the scales of the charts while you are in navigation or while you are planning, because from time to time, the scales of charts of the sources are varying, and therefore it may be more dangerous or to use the charts at the biggest scale zoom, which is maybe not done for that purpose. So question for you that maybe.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, it's complicated because it should be point by point in that we integrate a lot of data from many sources. And by the way, we also with the help of the community, but a lot of surveying that we do ourselves, etc. You know, there's a very important difference between what we do and what the hydrographic offices do. We kind of share a lot of the waters, but essentially the hydrographic office's mission is to create charts for the use of ships, which means vessels that stay away from, help them stay away from marinas and shallow waters, which on the contrary is where our customers go. In a way, it's like comparing street maps with used by trucks with maps used by bicycles or mountain bikes. You know, mountain bikes don't go where trucks can go. So this is to say that there is a lot of data from many sources, and But it's a good idea. Maybe we could create a system whereby when you click on a point, we list the sources available for that point and give an idea of how reliable it may be.
Okay, thank you. Second question is from a customer who has on his boat a old, between quotes, Raymarine E80, because I remember they are from, let's say, 2005 or even before then, but they work forever, and he's happy about this. Now, his request is how can he contribute to the community, because he has such a system that does not provide any Wi-Fi capability or easy way to interact with our current systems.
Well, what I see more and more done, and frankly speaking, that's also what I do, and pretty much all the people that I know, is to have one or multiple multifunction displays, or anyway, what we call the classic plotter, a good, reliable, strong piece of hardware that is very visible in the sun, that is waterproof, that does not have problems with the battery life and all these things, and is therefore very reliable, but is kind of basic. It cannot keep up with the improvements that are published all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So they integrate that with something that is complementary, not a substitute, but a complement to, and that's the app. So most people that I know now have their proper plotted. Of course, if you have a newer model, that's better. But if you have something that is a little bit, dated but still reliable, you like it, you know that it's reliable, then have the app next to it and do all the community edits and everything else in the app. Those will be published then on our updates and made available also for plotters. So then the recommendation is, of course, keep your chart up to date. Now, we publish the entire portfolio every day. Of course, nobody updates every day unless you have a plotter sync, which is available on the most recent devices. Then when you connect your mobile with the plotter, the chart gets updated. And that can be done every day. It's totally automatic, no effort. With the older ones, you have to do a little bit more work. But at least a few times per season, do it.
I can add a very small point that we have a solution also to collect sonar data for, between quotes, old plotters, because if you go on sonarserver.com, there is a product produced by Digital Yacht, and here I'm not making advertising, but it is a solution available whereby any of this Wi-Fi router connected to the NMEA 183 ports can broadcast to the Navionics app the depth information, and in that case we can capture and improve the bottom of the sonar charts. Okay, so the next one is a nice question of a customer, or let's say I'm not sure if he has a business in the marine, but in any case, he loves Navionics, but he also has Garmin, and he loves Garmin. So the request is he will be confined in the 25% that cannot use Navionics on his Garmin device in this case.
Let's say we are open to cooperate with everybody, and really it's up to Garmin to do so. But I understand, and Marcello, you may correct me, that we can collect data from Garmin through the standard interfaces. What we cannot do is put our charts into the Garmin hardware. It would require cooperation, let's say an agreement with Garmin. We're open for it, but it's in their power to decide.
Thank you. The next one, and I have more than one that is sending this message, is why we have still this substantial difference for the pricing of a cartridge and in general the apps that are sold through the App Store or Google Play.
It's a matter of volume and actual cost, because even if the data is common to both, of course, when you compare the numbers and you see that we sell orders of magnitude more on mobile devices, and by the way, there's no cost of a chip, there's no shipping of a chip, there's no preloading of the chip and all the logistics and the distribution system, very complicated and very expensive. So it really is proportional to the cost and the, let's say, the dilution of the cost between the two different methods. But again, I would not recommend saying, oh, well, even though, I mean, it's happened to me more than once. One time I recall I was just at an anchor on an island, and somebody came by and said, oh, Navionics, I was supposed to deliver a boat from Florida to the Caribbean, and everything was rushed. Actually, this happened just last summer. Everything was rush. So we bought the charts, we put them in, and then I left. And after I left, I found out that I was given the wrong set of charts. None of them was of the area that I needed to navigate. But I had my iPhone, so I downloaded the charts on the iPhone and went all the way to the Caribbean just on the iPhone. Well, if you're in an emergency, that's okay. I even know people that delivered boats from Finland all the way to the Mediterranean just on an iPhone. But I would strongly recommend to use safer methods.
Okay, so the next one is a critic and a customer that seems to be very passionate of Navionics, found that our turnaround to fix bugs in the apps is quite too long, more longer than expected, because having such a good user base and reasonable good name, they expect to have a quicker turnaround to fix problem and to have a better quality. I have everything recorded, so this is not from me, really. So what we can answer to this?
We're improving on that, meaning that I have to recognize that a couple of years ago we really had a serious problem, and we put a lot of effort in improving that. We had frequent recalls, frequent releases that were just bug fixing releases and stuff like that. Now, in the most recent, let's say from the last season and the most recent months, we have really, I mean, this has cost some blood, sweat, and tears. We have changed a lot of things and a number of people within the company to improve that. But now I think we're doing much better. So I hope that we will, by this summer, let's say by this season, be able to meet really the most demanding expectations. I would also like to say that, when we were talking about thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of user sessions, a lot of bugs went unnoticed. Now that we're talking about 100 million, the most invisible bug is going to be found. So the level of perfection that is demanded now by the market, and it's absolutely legitimate, but it is quite a challenge, and we're working very hard to rise to that challenge.
Thank you. Next question is from a customer who has a PC navigation software from Scannav, who is a French manufacturer of this software, and is using Navionics charts. He likes that software. However, he would like to have that very software of navigation on an iPad. So he's requested if Navionics will allow third parties, for in this case Android app suppliers, third-party suppliers, to use our data in third-party apps, if it can happen in future.
Yeah, actually, we do have a lot of that demand. That was the original idea, actually, was to do that the same as we have done with plotters. The dynamics and the technology of mobile devices is such that it is a lot harder than it looks. But we are working on that front very seriously. As a matter of fact, in just a couple of weeks from now, we will be releasing a beta version of a software development kit for third-party developers. And so we expect that by the summer, more or less, there will be third-party products on the market. As I know, currently we have about over 100 developers that have requested to do that. So we'll definitely see a change.
Thanks. The next one, this is a question from a customer who value the way we do community edits as a correction of any object on the charts, as well as he values our ability to process the discrepancy reports. Somebody that reports to us through the website and is asking what's better to do. Do we correct on the community edits, and what's the process whereby those corrections that are done by the community then get into the official charts, if there is any process, or if it is better or concurrently to provide a discrepancy reports through our website to improve the charts.
Or through the app. You know that if there's a discrepancy, there's if you go into the app menu, there's one item that is called provide us with feedback or give us feedback, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And if you do that, we receive an email. I may be asking a little much, but if you do submit feedback is the item. I don't know if it's not too bright, but anyway, if possible, do both, because what you do with the community edit gets distributed immediately, almost in real time to everybody, so everybody can see it. However, it is not certified by Navionics and remains identified as a community edit and is kept on a separate layer from the main database. If you do it with the submit feedback, that is an email that goes directly to the production site of Navionics, and it is therefore immediately checked as a discrepancy. Of course, let's say community edits are oftentimes things that don't really affect navigation or not so much, whereas feedback is really usually kept for something important. Let me say that if we have a misspelling of the name of a marina, it is not elegant, but does not jeopardize anybody. That's okay to do it with but anyway, in any way, if you also send us a feedback through that instrument, it gets processed, verified, and put into the layer of official data.
Yeah, in fact, one other question that is strictly related to this is requesting, are community edits sometimes going into the navigation data? If we have any example of that, I was putting as an example the transient birds. Normally, there is very poor mention of this, which is very important in the charts, whereby we find that in some ports, there are transient variables, and they're extremely useful to know in advance. So kind of those information, do we intend to filter those and to validate those and to import in some of the charts?
Well, the true answer is that usually the communities are self-policing. The whole idea of the community is that whatever any member of the community does is going to be seen and potentially corrected by many, many others. So we now keep the two sets of data separate, one from another, to make sure that if anybody does something with malware, does not affect the original. So it's identified whether it's an official, verified, or made by the community. But I do take this opportunity to urge all members of the community to verify and when applicable, correct whatever edit has been made by others. This is the whole idea of the community. Everybody contributes, and everybody is also kept, let's say, on a good rein, because otherwise somebody else will correct or delete or change what one has done.
Yeah. On the other hand, we have also the Charter campaign, which is limited to one country. If we can say a couple of words on that, this is an experience that we have done, partially in agreement with the Norwegian Hydrographic Office, whereby we supply at the end of the season a number of the community edits, specifically the rock objects added by customers that were not or were poorly or not with the necessary accuracy charted in the official charts. We supply that set of data, and it's up to the official institution to validate them and insert with the proper process in the official charts. In that case, we have that experience. One customer is requesting if we have one single chart for all the world. So I expect that this customer or the person has a good time to travel all around in a nice boat.
I'm very jealous of that customer. I wish I could do it. Unfortunately, the answer is no, and it is not because of technical limitations right now, but by the way the copyright with hydrographic offices works. So if we were to supply a chart of the world, we would have to charge everybody the total amount of all the royalties of all the hydrographic offices in the world would be extremely expensive. That's why we have large but also smaller charts. And the price, again, is not only due to the amount of data, but also very much affected by the amount of royalty that we pay to hydrographic offices, which is a lot, let me say, a lot of money.
Yeah, when we have another question, which is very important, is it possible then to download some of the charts from the app into, for example, a Raymarine unit in this case?
Yes, the most recent Raymarine devices, all the ones that have a Wi-Fi, can be connected to the app. And when they connect, they automatically synchronize the data. So if you have up-to-date cartography in your app, that gets downloaded into the plotter. It's a very, very good way to keep your charts up to date, because then when you're home, you can update your charts in the app. It's one click to do it, and you can do it in Wi-Fi, costs you nothing. And then when you get to the boat, you connect the plotter to the app, and again, it costs nothing. And it takes seconds to update your charts. Of course, you have to have a subscription, a valid subscription on both in order to do that.
Yeah, and I may add that it is not only on Raymarine, but soon will be available in other units. We know that there will be soon a release by Navico group of devices that will support this function, this capability too. This is going to happen very, very soon.
So as everybody knows, Navico means BNG, means Lowrance, and means SIMRAD.
Yeah. So I think I had all my questions. All the other that have been sent in the question and answer are recorded that will be answered separately. It's now 50 minutes that we run the webinar, so I think at this moment, unless you see something very urgent or top important to answer, we can
well, I see that we have almost 100 questions altogether. Obviously, it would take a lot of time to answer them all. But as Marcello said, all those that we have not been able to answer now will be answered in due course because you are registered, so you will be able to receive an answer. But let me see. Ukraine. Did Vestas in the latest Volvo Ocean race use Navionics maps? The answer is no. They were not from Navionics, but I would not, say bad things about the cartography they were using, because we also learned to do better than we did before. There was a problem with the sync function. I'm trying to get to some of the very short ones. I use 2 iPads on board, one for navigation, one for backup. When I buy the Navionics charts, can I load and use it on both devices? I don't know the answer to that. Marcello, do you? If you have one single account, I think so, because I have 2 phones. I don't have 2 iPads. But they're on the same iTunes account, Apple account.
We are on the same iTunes account. They should be possible to synchronize across a number of personal devices.
Olivier asked, dear sirs, traveling on inland waters becomes more and more popular in Europe. And I'm wondering if there will be updates in regards to inland water maps and, more importantly, bridge heights, etc. Yes, the answer is definitely yes. We already have more coverage than, by far, more coverage than anybody else. But we are continuing to add more and add more detail and things like bridge. Why don't we do this, Marcello? I will read some answers and you answer. While you answer, I try to read some more, and we can go another 3 or 4 minutes till the end of the hour.
Up to you. No, specifically for the inland waters, we have grown our data in inland waters massively. I can start mentioning, for example, Finland. We published about 11,000 lakes during 2016 that are now available. We publish beyond 700 lakes additional in Sweden. We publish tens and tens of new lakes in Norway. We publish in Scotland new lakes as well. During 2016, we published also about 180 new lakes in France, which are now available. So, and there are more on that, and they are really coming this season for the sake of mainly the fishermen use.
A question from Timo Gilling. Will the slides of this webinar, so we're kind of flipping sides here. Will the slides of this webinar be available on the Navionics website?
Normally what we do is we publish the video in the YouTube channel, so a customer can review the video and can see all the comments, also all the question and answer. And of course, the slides are part of the video itself. In any case, if there is some operator that is interested to have a copy of this slide for private use, I think it's okay. They just can write to us.
Axel Hartmann, when do you accept the sonar data generated by Lorentz devices?
That is a difficult answer because, as you know, we have a good relationship with Navico, but we still are searching a balanced approach to collect the customer sonar logs. So far, we are not there yet, but we're open and we keep discussing and working with Navico to find a possible solution for that.
But also, I must say, and credit Marcello for creating the possibility of doing the sonar chart live, which is also a way of getting the sonar data from the Lorentz devices or the Navico devices into the app. So if you have a Navico device that has a Wi-Fi or has the Go Free little black box addition to it that broadcasts data, and with that you can connect it to the app, see the sonar chart live, and also do the sonar chart.
Yes, that is possible.
Could it be possible to have an option to find the nearest boat ramps with Navionics?
That is probably requiring software change because I'm not sure we have a function definitely that performs that search. I mean, we normally search function is for harbor ports, nearest ports, and those sorts of things. So I will take note anyways on this request. Boat ramp, very important.
Marcello, is there a time scale for when dock-to-dock will be available on BNG plotters like Zeus?
Yes, there is, let's say, we are not authorized. We're not authorized, but in METS there has been an announcement by Navico in conjunction with Navionics that such function will be available during the current season. And I expect this will happen very, very soon, probably in a matter of weeks.
Okay, I see we're on the hour, so one more question. What happens to map data downloads and tracking when I leave cell phone covered areas? I guess I can answer this since it's the last. I'm not trying. I'm really very happily surprised. We have by now more than 100 questions, and so Marcello will have some homework to do to make sure that they all get answered. But the app is made to function within and without cell phone coverage. So what happens when you're outside of cell phone coverage is that you will not be able to download additional charts, nor to upload community edits and that sort of stuff. But if you have saved, say, tracks or markers or any or community edits or any of that, as soon as you're connected, all of them will be sent to the server. This is an opportunity also to recommend very strongly, very warmly recommend that you register with the app. Because I have not seen it in any of the questions, but I've only scanned a few of them. A frequent problem that happens is that either the phone falls and gets broken, or falls overboard, is lost, or simply is changed, an old device is changed with a newer device. If you have activated the synchronization, all your data is backed up in a cloud, and that's a free service. Your privacy is absolutely guaranteed. Your data is your data. The community edits are the community edits, but your personal data is your personal data, is not shared with anybody. Again, your privacy is absolutely guaranteed, but you also have an additional service, which is part of the services we offer with our Navionics Plus subscription, and that is that if you change your device, your phone, or you lose it or whatever happens, you get a new one, you re-download the app, and all your data, your personal data, goes back into your new device. So, I mean, I know what it means losing all the data. Sometimes it's really valuable data, your fishing spots and stuff like that, or just the memory of your tracks where you have been when. And it's a shame to lose it. If you have the subscription, this is a service that is included in the subscription, and it's totally safe and totally private.
Okay, so I think we see a lot of people now dropping because we go over 1 hour, but I see also a lot of people sending thanks for the webinar itself, and they find in general quite useful. So I thank again everybody for participation, and I expect you to keep in touch with Navionics. We have many ways to do that in the community, and also to visit us, if possible, during the Düsseldorf boat show. And thanks, Giuseppe, thanks to everybody, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.